In the deep of a forest where even whispers echo, there was a game unknown to all but a selected few. Only the forest itself bore witness to this countless hunts. Death and struggles is what it wants. On the night when the moon glowed like an unblinking eye, the hunt begins and the wind cries. A howl that echoes as far as it reaches, adding a tremble to the chosen prey, running in the dark where only moon lit their way. 10 individuals fighting for their survival in this forsaken place. As the prey scattered, the forest came alive with a chilling symphony of rustling leaves and breaking twigs. The moonlight painted silver paths on the forest floor, but the shadows were treacherous, concealing threats at every turn. Each of the 10 chosen individuals bore a single mark on their hand, an intricate sigil that glowed faintly, pulsing with the rhythm of their quickening hearts. Among them was Lena, a tracker by trade, her sharp eyes scanning for movement even as her breath came in ragged gasps. She knew the rules of this macabre game: survive until dawn, and the forest would release its grip. Fail, and you became part of it, forever. Behind her, a faint crunch of leaves made her freeze. Her hand instinctively reached for the knife she had scavenged earlier. "Who's there?" she whispered, her voice barely audible over the pounding of her heart. A low growl answered her, not human, but something primal, feral. The hunters weren't just the other participants. The forest itself seemed to send its guardians to cull the weak. She turned to run, her pulse thundering in her ears as the sound of pursuit grew louder. Elsewhere, a figure darted through the trees, clutching a makeshift weapon. His name was Rian, and his strategy was simple: outlast the others. He had no intention of forming alliances. In a game like this, trust was a weakness, and weakness was fatal. As the hours ticked by, the forest revealed its secrets. Traps lay hidden beneath the undergrowth, set by unseen hands. Echoes of distant screams reminded everyone of the stakes. The forest wasn't just a setting, it was a living, breathing adversary, its twisted branches and hidden pitfalls conspiring against survival. By the time the first light of dawn painted the sky with hues of orange and pink, only 2 remained. Lena, bloodied but unbowed, and Rian, his cold determination etched into his face. They faced each other in a clearing, the forest falling eerily silent as if holding its breath. Only one could leave, and the forest demanded its price. Lena's chest heaved as she faced Rian. The clearing seemed surreal under the dimming moonlight, its silence amplifying the unspoken tension between them. The sigils on their hands glowed brighter now, pulsating in unison like a countdown to their inevitable confrontation. Ryan's eyes narrowed as he gripped the jagged spear he'd fashioned earlier. "You don't have to do this," Lena said, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. "The forest demands a price, but maybe it doesn't have to be ours." Ryan scoffed, his voice dripping with cynicism. "Spare me the morality play. Only one of us walks out of here. You know the rules as well as I do." But Lena wasn't convinced the rules were immutable. She had seen something during the hunt, a fleeting vision in the shadows, like a memory that wasn't hers. The forest didn't merely observe, it consumed. The sigils weren't marks of favor, they were bindings. What if defying the rules was the only way to break free? "Do you even wonder why we were chosen?" she asked, trying to stall for time and gather her thoughts. "Why us? Why this place?" Ryan hesitated, his expression unreadable for a moment before he resumed his defensive stance. "Doesn't matter. This ends now." He lunged. Lena sidestepped, narrowly avoiding the spear's jagged tip. She swung her knife in a desperate arc, catching the edge of Ryan's shirt. He grunted, pivoting to strike again, but the ground beneath them trembled. The sigils on their hands flared violently, sending waves of searing heat through their bodies. They both fell to their knees, clutching their hands in agony. Around them, the forest began to shift. Trees twisted, their roots writhing like serpents. The air grew heavy with an unnatural hum. "It's feeding off us," Lena gasped, the realization hitting her like a blow. "The fight, it's a distraction. The forest wants us to destroy each other." Ryan looked at her, his face a mask of pain and confusion. "What are you saying? That we just stop?" "Yes," she said firmly. "We stop. We refuse to play." "And what if you're wrong?" he asked, his voice raw with doubt. "Then we die anyway," Lena replied, locking eyes with him. "But at least we don't give it what it wants." Ryan's grip on his spear faltered. The forest seemed to sense his hesitation, its hum rising to a deafening pitch. The ground beneath them cracked, revealing a gaping void that pulsed with an eerie red light. "It's now or never," Lena urged. She threw her knife to the ground, raising her hands in a gesture of surrender. For a long moment, Rian didn't move. Then, with a growl of frustration, he hurled his spear into the void. The forest screamed, a sound that wasn't of this world. The sigils on their hands exploded in a flash of blinding light, and then silence. When Lena opened her eyes, she was standing at the edge of the forest, the first rays of sunlight warming her face. Ryan was beside her, his expression a mix of disbelief and relief. The sigils were gone, leaving behind faint scars. The forest loomed behind them, dark and foreboding, but it no longer felt alive. They had defied it, and somehow they had won. "Now what?" Ryan asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Lena looked at him, a faint smile tugging at her lips. "We tell the world. No one else should ever play this game." And together they walked away, leaving the haunted woods behind. But deep within the shadows, the forest waited, silent and patient, for its next opportunity to hunt. As Lena and Rian walked away from the forest's edge, the world around them began to shift. The air grew warmer, the scent of pine and decay fading into the clean, crisp smell of morning dew. But the silence between them was heavy. Lena's mind raced. They had survived, but at what cost? The scars on her hand tingled, faint reminders of the sigils that had burned like brands into their skin. She glanced at Ryan, who was scanning the horizon with the same wary eyes he had used in the forest. "We need to find someone who will believe us," Lena said, breaking the silence. "Good luck with that," Ryan muttered. "What do we say? That we were hunted by a sentient forest that plays games with people's lives? Sounds like we've lost it." Lena frowned. He wasn't wrong, but there had to be a way. "What if there are others?" she asked. "People who survived before us. Someone must know about this place." Ryan stopped walking and turned to face her. "If there are others, why haven't we heard about it? Why hasn't anyone shut it down?" Lena opened her mouth to reply, but something stopped her. A nagging thought, buried deep, rose to the surface. She closed her eyes and tried to focus. The forest. It had shown her visions during the hunt. Fragmented images of faces she didn't recognize, voices she couldn't place. I think it erases them," she said slowly. "The people who survive. It erases their memories or makes them disappear." Ryan stared at her, skepticism warring with unease. "That's a hell of a theory." "Think about it," Lena pressed. "How did we even get there? Do you remember?" Ryan opened his mouth to answer, then froze. A flicker of panic crossed his face. I don't. I remember waking up in that clearing, but nothing before that." Lena's heart sank. It wasn't over. The forest might have released them, but it still had a hold on their minds.